Mother's Day is coming up. Are you having a hard time dealing with grief on Mother's Day? Or are you having a hard time dealing with grief in general? Stay tuned, and I want to give a lot of helpful hints on getting through Mother's Day better and in dealing with grief generally a lot better. Hang on. Well, it's Mother's Day coming up soon, and like a lot of people, I miss my mom this time of year. I love my mom. She was just the best. We were so close to each other. She had gone through divorce, and for a while there it was just me and her and my brother, and then my brother went off to college, and it was just the two of us. I loved her so much. Until one day, I was only 16 years old, and she's calling me down first thing in the morning. Something's wrong, and she's having a hard time moving around and speaking. She had had a stroke 2 years before, and it looked like she was having another one. 5 days later, after being in a coma for a while, she passed away. I just was devastated. I was so close to her, and it was just the two of us, and it was just the roughest thing in the world for me, grieving through that. Little did I know I was getting training and dealing with grief and helping other people deal with grief, but it was a very sad part. So I understand the loss of mothers on Mother's Day. It still hits me. It's been a long time now. I'm getting older now. It's been 35 years since she passed away, roughly, but it still hurts. But I've learned a lot by helping a lot of people deal with grief. I'm a psychologist. I'm Dr. Monty Miller, and I wanted to do this YouTube channel to help people learn from what I've learned by helping people in severe storms. The people I've worked with clinically in my job for 20 years have just been some of these people have gone through tragedies, not just grief and loss of loved ones, loss of spouses, loss of children, but severe handicaps, severe medical problems, just extreme loss of independence and functioning. It's just emotionally, people have no idea what these guys have gone through. And they've learned to cope with it and fight and make the most of their life. And so I want to pass that on to you guys. So please like my channel, see here more videos. I want to learn all kind of ways, I want to give you all kind of ways on how to cope with problems. So please hit the subscribe button, pass this on, share it with other people. Hit the little thumbs up like button if you like this video. That will let YouTube know to pass it on to others. Leave me a comment and let me know about your experience with your mother or grieving in general. I do want this video to helpful not just for Mother's Day, but in grieving in general. I was asked by Faith-Filled Family Magazine. It's an online magazine. It's got really great articles. I'd really suggest you go read it. I'll have the link below. But I write articles for them periodically, and they asked me to write one on coping with grief, loss of mothers on Mother's Day. So I thought I'd write that article and wrote it, and it's going to be on my website as well, my blog, but I figured I need to make a video. It's that time of year, and a lot of people don't read the articles. They'd rather listen to YouTube, like I do often. So I wanted to make this video. So how do you deal with the loss of mothers? Why is the grieving of mothers sometimes so much worse than grieving loss of other people? Not to say other people's losses are not severe or more or less, but mothers can have a special place in our heart. Why is it so much harder? Well, think about it. What is the first person you bond with? Your mother, on average. You look up at them and you see them with your little baby eyes, and you get close to them, and psychologically we say that we kind of think that, okay, the baby doesn't even really realize that, okay, mom's here and I'm over here. It's like she's just part of you. She's literally is you, as far as you know early on. You cry and she magically knows to meet your needs, to feed you, to change you, to fix your boo-boos. She knows how to do everything to make you feel better. And so you're naturally going to bond with your mom right away. And of course, as we get older, they're usually the most important person in our life the first couple of years growing up. And so it's not unusual to grieve hard when they leave you. Of course, it's harder when you're young and you lose your mom like I did. But, let's say you're older and you've had your mom for all those years, and you're getting older, she's getting older, she passes away. Well, that's a lot of years of bonding. So that's not really easy either. Grief just is never easy. First of all, I want to say, I don't want to take your sadness away. I can't take away your sadness. With all my psychological training and experience and everything, all the books I've read, there's no magic words to say just to make you feel all better and be all happy. It doesn't. It stinks. Death was not originally part of God's plan, and evil and Satan and sin made it happen, and it was not the way it's supposed to be. And that's why it's going to hurt so much, because it's not natural. It does happen, it's always inevitable and something we have to deal with, but it's still not part of how we originally were made. So it's always going to hurt. It always stinks. And when I'm dealing with people trying to sadness, sometimes, all I can do, even as a psychologist, is say, I'm sorry and I'm here for you. And that's all. That's so hard because I want to say more. We all want to say more. And if people are trying to comfort you when you're grieving, be nice and don't be too hard on them if they're trying to say things that are really stupid, because they're trying at least and they want to help. But there's no magic help. So as a psychologist, what I want to tell this video, why am I making this video then? Because I want you to see it from a different perspective. Yes, you have the truth of the sadness and the grieving. I can't take that truth away. But it doesn't just have to be one view. Can you have two views, two truths behind the situation? Yes, there's the truth of the sadness, but there's also truth of other ways of looking at it as well. And that's what this video is to not take away your sadness, but to add other thoughts in your mind to think about that can help you hurt less. Not take the pain away, but to hurt less and see it from a different perspective. So that's what I want to do on this video. So one thing I always want to say when people are grieving is it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be selfish. One of the few times a year, 2 times of your life, I think it's in some ways weird to think of it, but I want you to be selfish. It's okay to sit there and say, poor me, I hate this, it sucks, and I don't like it. And that's all right. You might be happy for the person, and I hope you believe they're in a better place. So you can still feel happy on one end. Again, 2 different feelings. You can feel happy for them and sad for yourself. You don't get to be with them, at least for a while, and that stinks. And that's okay to let yourself feel sorry for yourself and be a little selfish. I think it was wonderful when someone gave me that permission to be able to feel that way. It validated my feelings and helped me to ironically get stronger. So first off, feel that way. We've all read and heard things about Kubler-Ross and their 3 stages of grieving. And there's a lot of important issues in that. I don't really agree that you have to go through this stage, this stage, this stage, this stage. Those stages are all common emotions and feelings. And you can go back and forth between those different emotions and different feelings. The end goal is still acceptance. It really is. But I'll talk to that about a second. What does acceptance mean in a second? But I want you to understand that it's normal to have different multiple feelings. And we never sit there and look at somebody and say, quit crying, quit grieving, it's been long enough, get over it. It's not just a certain period of time and then boom, you start grieving. It's a process, it's stages you have to go through. And I understand that. But when is it excessive grief? Well, I think the only person who can really say that is you. It's a subjective emotion, it's a subjective experience or perspective based upon what you want. It's like you might sit there and think, my cat, you may sit there and think, I'm tired of grieving. I'm tired of hurting this much. I'm trying to get over it and move on, but I just can't. It's been a long time now and I just can't get over it. Okay, then you might be excessively grieving and you need to take a look at yourself and try to think about things a little differently. And that's the point of this video. Please watch through the whole point of this whole video to watch everything. There's a lot of good tips here. Okay, in order to move on and to try to get to a better place, you have to move towards acceptance. What is acceptance? A lot of people really misunderstand it, that they're saying, I think acceptance means that you're saying it's okay, that it's all right, with what happened is no big deal. That's not what acceptance means. You can continue to say, this stinks and I hate it. Never take that away. It's okay to continue to say that, but that's not what acceptance is about. Acceptance is deep realization in your head logically that you cannot change it. You cannot go back in time and take the situation back. You can't fix it. You can't go back in time and do something differently to bring them back. It doesn't do any good. So many people focus so much on blaming or trying to figure out what went wrong, or, oh, it's my fault if I would have just done this, or if they would have done that. Doesn't matter. They're gone. And you can't change that. Logically, we know that. But our hearts, or our poor logic part of our brain, however you want to phrase it, are stupid. We're so smart as humans. We can have so many thoughts go through our mind, and yet so many of our thoughts don't really fully make sense logically. Going back to my mom, I remember when she first died, I had the typical feelings I learned were typical later. There's like just being in denial. No, it can't be. I can't accept this. It's got to be a mistake. It's got to be a dream. It's got to be something the doctors could still do to fix it, maybe. God, maybe you could perform a miracle. God will be good if you just bring them back. And you'd think of all these things go through your head. And every bit, logically, they're gone and it doesn't really matter what all these thoughts are. But yet you still have those thoughts anyway. As time goes on, you tend to have those negative thoughts less and less or less intense, but it can still just hit you out of the blue. You see something that reminds you of them, or you want to do something, you want to call them up and you realize you can't. And it just hits you and you just scream out of the depths of your soul, no, it can't be. That is clearly your thoughts being in denial about what's going on, that they're really gone. You have not accepted in that moment that they're really gone, because that's why you're saying no. No is opposite of acceptance, right? And that's okay. Nothing's mentally ill or weak about you. Nothing's overly depressed about doing that. It's a normal reaction. And the best way to fight it is to admit it to yourself. Deep inside your heart, even if you're a logical, smart, calm, rational person, admit that you're still human and you can have these thoughts and they're not rational, but you're still having them anyway. That's the best way to deal with them and change them, is to admit it. So when you can really look at yourself and say, okay, yeah, that's silly for me to think that, but I'm still thinking it. When you put it out on the table, you can deal with it much more directly, much more rationally. So how can you move on? How can you get to a better place? Well, I'm a cognitive behavioral psychologist. I'll talk about that in a lot of my videos. That means that I believe that our thoughts dictate our emotions. You have to have some first thought or interpretation or assumption about your situation that then leads you to a certain emotion. You don't just feel emotional for no reason. You have thoughts, and that dictates your emotion. So if you're more depressed than you think you should be, it's because you're having certain thoughts going through your head that are holding you back and keeping you down that way. The good news is you can analyze those thoughts, you can bring them out on the table, and you can realize it. You can sit there, okay, this is my thought. It's silly, it's stupid. So now that I'm looking at it, I can realize it's not so stupid, and you let go of it and you change things better. But if you don't deal with it, it stays in your heart, stays in your mind, and it can control you. So when I'm having people who are having a tough time getting through their situation or accepting their situation, I've got to be like a little detective, and I got to help the person get inside their own head and figure it out for themselves of what are the thoughts inside their head that they're not aware of that are holding them back. And that's the hard part of psychotherapy, and that's why you can't always do it yourself, and you need an outside person to look at it who's trained to try to help you. And that's why we can look at, say, okay, what are the thoughts there? Well, there's got to be some thought in there that's holding you back. What is that? And I really think, in looking at people and getting to know people after all these years, that a lot of part goes back to acceptance and denial. I cannot believe that they're really dead. And you know that in your head, of course they're dead. But there's still a part of you that's holding on, maybe. To illustrate this, let me give you a little point. Imagine a 4-year-old little girl. I've used this a lot in my therapy. A 4-year-old little girl, and she wants her cookie. So she wants a cookie before dinner. Mom, can I have a cookie? It's right before dinner. So she says, no, it's too early. It's too late. And so the little kid throws a temper tantrum, but I want my cookie. And she throws a fit. She's hoping that she can get it. Now, some logical, smart, good girls or boys will sit there and say, okay, dang it, I was hoping to get one, but mom said no, so I guess I won't. But sometimes kids are a little stubborn and ornery, and they say they really determined that they really wanted it, they really hope they could, and they still think that they really can. Mom's given in before every now and then, so it's long shot, but maybe if I really throw a fit, she'll feel bad for me. She'll see how sad I am, and she'll see how unfair and unjust it is to keep something like a cookie away from a kid. If she really loves me, she'll give it to me. So all those thoughts go through the little kid's mind, and so they throw a temper tantrum harder, and it just might work, and every now and then it does for a cookie. And so we learn early on, and we'll even go before that, a little baby. Your diaper's wet, your bottom's wet and uncomfortable. You cry, your needs get magically met. We learn that if we throw a fit, we might get our way, just might. It's worth a shot anyway. We never really grow out of that. Even as smart, rational, competent adults, a little bit of us can keep that. We just get more sophisticated in how we throw our temper tantrum. It might be through drinking. It might be just through pouting. It might be from retreating from the world in depression. It might be going off and having all kinds of wild fun that you probably shouldn't be having. It might be getting angry and just yelling at everybody and hitting or throwing things. But we still throw our temper tantrums. And the bottom line is we want our way, and we think if we act out, we might get our way. We think that if we just get sad enough, our magic fairy godmothers will come and rescue us. Knight and Prince Charming knight in shining armor will come and rescue us. We really think that. Deep inside, admit it that you might be thinking about it. At least look at yourself and analyze yourself, and don't be too proud or arrogant to think you won't have those thoughts. Are you having those thoughts of somehow denying what the reality is and thinking you can somehow change it? However, what's really hard about accepting the truth is that if we accept it, we will for sure not get our way. There's no chance that they'll ever come back. And I can't let go of that chance, because that would mean I've really lost my mom forever or my loved one forever. And I just can't do that. I've got to believe that maybe I could. As long as I have that hope, I can keep going. But that little bit of hope drags you down miserably. You're not going to be happy, and you're still not going to get your mother back or your loved one back. And so you will be happier and do better if you really accept that you're not going to get your way on this one. What are some other ways to think about it? Well, there's lots of good ways. One, especially if you're a Christian, there's lots of good ways to look at it. This is not the end. I love the Bible verse, "O death, where is thy victory? Where is thy sting?" Jesus died on the cross. It's Good Friday was when I'm filming this. It was Good Friday yesterday. Easter Sunday's tomorrow morning. Jesus died on the cross for us, and he conquered death. And he was the first fruits, the first one to rise. And we will rise again, and we'll be with our families. Even the Old Testament, it promises, with Joshua when they died. It's like the generation of Joshua went to be with their ancestors. It's a nicer way of saying died. But it's also, it's a promise. You'll be back with your family when you die. Heaven is wonderful. I love the concept of heaven. This earth is not all there is. This earth is just, this life is just a small part of our whole existence. And see, if you, from the time you were born until eternity, you're way out here. But this one small little sliver where you're grieving and missing them is just one small little strip of time. It may seem like forever right now, but it's not. It's not goodbye, it's see you later. Do you have faith to really believe in that? There's lots of reason to have good faith in Jesus. He's been there for us, he died for us, lots of scientific evidence. I love debating that stuff. But if you already believe in your heart, then you know it's true. It may not seem real, and you may be afraid to get your hopes up, but it is true and it's real. As soon as my mom died, I started thinking, man, I can't wait to die because then I get to be with my mom again. I've never been afraid of death ever since. Doing my job, I'm dealing with people who a lot of times are at the end of their life, and they're dealing with feelings of death and dying, and I'm trying to help them to cope with it, and I need to give them hope. The Bible says, do not grieve as those who have no hope. We have eternal hope. And hope doesn't just mean a wish. I wish I can get to see my mom again. No, hope means a guaranteed promise in the Bible. You will see them again. Jesus promised, "Where in my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you." If this weren't true, I wouldn't tell you. It's going to be awesome. It says, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived the wonderful things God has in store for those who love him. I love collecting stories of people who have died, people who have near-death experiences, people who have died and come back to life. I've probably had over a dozen people myself who have had those kind of experiences in my work. And I've had several other people who didn't clinically die, but they've had wonderful, amazing, authentic visions from God about going to heaven and seeing heaven. And it's just wonderful. I've done another video on heaven before, and I'll probably make some more on heaven. But it's the best thing in the world. I'm like a kid before Christmas talking about heaven. We don't preach on it enough. Pastors don't talk on it enough. Heaven is real, and it's coming, and it would make all the difference in the world if we could keep that in mind. Do you hear the excitement in my voice? I just realized I love heaven, and I can't wait to see my mom again. And I know it's going to happen. I know I'll see her again. I know all my problems I'm struggling with in this world are going to be answered. I know that, and that really brings me a lot of joy and peace. Even with the deepest, darkest, saddest things on this earth, they're not permanent. True, deep sadness and depression would result if I never would get to see my mom again. That would be sad. But knowing I'm going to see her again, I can deal with that. I can deal with it. It's bearable now. It still hurts. Do I still cry and miss her sometimes? Yes, I do. But it's going to be better. All right, Mother's Day is coming up. Why is it harder on Mother's Day? Some people cry and grieve more on certain days of the calendar than others. The date of their birthday, the date of your loved one's anniversary of their death, Christmas and Thanksgiving, their birthdays, and Mother's Day for mothers, fathers for Father's Day. Those special occasions bring out the worst in us, our sadness and grief. I can understand this, but personally, I never wanted to do that. I never remembered my mom's birthday or the anniversary of the days she died. If I want to miss her, I'll miss her. I'm not going to let the calendar make me more sad than I want to be. I'm in control of that. At least I want to try to be. Sure, sometimes grief still hits me out of the blue, but that's just going to happen naturally. I'm not going to let something make me sad. I don't want to do that. But maybe you're letting the calendar dictate your sadness because part of you wants to be sad. Not just because you're in denial and you want to bring them back to life. Maybe that's part of it. But maybe you want to find a reason to be sad because there's something good in that. Why would someone want to be sad? Doesn't make sense. I started realizing a couple years after my mom died that I really partly enjoyed those moments where it would just hit me and be sad. This many years later, it doesn't happen as often. And part of that makes me sad that I don't get so sad. And so it's more cold about it. Sometimes it makes me want to pop in the movie Beaches and just watch the ending of that movie just to make me cry and miss my mom all over again. Why? Because when I'm most sad, I feel her more. She's more real to me in my heart. I feel the love. I made a whole article on my blog about the positive side of grief. If you're sad and missing your loved one, that's only because you loved them in the first place. You had love in your life. It's an equal proportion. If you hurt really badly, it's because that you had that much love. It's always an equal balance there. And so can you look on the bright side of things and think, thank God you had the love? I work in nursing homes a lot of times, and I get close to a lot of people, and then they end up dying, and it's sad. But why do I still love my job and still do it? Because every time I miss somebody and lose somebody, that's that much more love I had in my life to begin with. How blessed am I to have someone to miss? What would be really sad is to not be grieving any to where you didn't have any love in your life. That'd be more depressing. So I praise God and thank Him that I had some love in my life, including the love of my mother. Even though it's stuck since she's gone, I'm glad I had a mother who I loved so much. Can you look on the bright side of things? And so maybe you're wanting to look at the calendar because you're wanting to grieve, because you're wanting to feel that love for them. So can you accept both sides of the coin and both feelings? I'm sad, I hate it, but I also love that I love them. Okay, one final thing about tips like on Mother's Day, or anybody you're grieving, of course, but on Mother's Day specifically, how do you get through that exactly? So how you get through it, I think, is to keep all this stuff in mind, analyze your thoughts, but maybe spend more time honoring your mother instead of feeling sorry for yourself and grieving your mother. Honor them. Write down your favorite memories. Write down all the things you loved. Write down all the things you thought about that they did for you, the things that they taught you. That really helped me when I was grieving my loss of my father. It was a little rocky relationship at times, and there was a lot of mixed feelings when he passed away. But when I was sitting there writing the eulogy, as my brother and sister asked me to do, I was on the plane and I was writing this stuff down. I just started bawling. And what got me is I was writing down all the good things that he taught me. Even with the problems that were there, I still thank him and thank God that he taught me all the things he did teach me that were good. So maybe, especially if you have siblings or other family members, other people who miss that person, talk to them on the phone, have lunch with them, meet with them on Mother's Day, and just share all the good memories. You may laugh and you may hurt and you may miss them, but can you have that be the good longing I was just talking about, where you're also feeling the love? Do that, and that would be honoring to them instead of just sad and missing them and feeling sorry for yourself. And if you're missing somebody else besides your mother, do the same thing, and you don't need a special occasion. Write down all the good things about them and honor them. That's what they would want. They would want you to be missing them, but they'd want you to be moving on with your life and happier. And they'd want you to be thinking about the good times that y'all had with each other. I hope this video helped in dealing with grief or the loss of your mother or anyone else. Please give me some comments below and let me know if you're missing your mother or how you feel about everything, and if you feel like anything on this video helped or anything else, other tips, tricks you have on how to help you deal with grief, especially the loss of your mother on Mother's Day. I'd love to hear from y'all, and I promise I'll answer you back personally. So here's hoping you find peace in your storm. As always, I'll be praying for you, and God bless you. Bye-bye.